you to consider everything that's going on in your life. And when you consider that, what is it? What's the minimum that you think that you can achieve in terms of your exercise targets? Okay, because the main thing when it comes to exercise is we want you to get good at doing the basics consistently, because that's what's going to make all the difference, is how consistent and how frequent that you can be doing what it is that you need to be doing. So that's what we were talking about with our baseline exercise goals. Our target goals, for those of us who are in a really good place, so you might have answered that you're in a 10, your confidence was 10 to start nailing this. Maybe you can start looking at some target goals which are a little bit higher than those baseline goals. Okay, so they're going to move you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Okay, so that's where we left last week, and we're just going to expand on that just a little bit more, and we're just going to talk about when it comes to you guys setting these goals, there's only a couple of things that really matter. Okay, the first one is what we've already touched on, and the whole reason why we have our baseline goals. And that is, it's just about training consistently, frequently, and I've got intensely, but where appropriate, because intensely actually is not what I want you to be focused on, okay? Part of it, short, frequent bursts of it, but not every single exercise session that you do. The reason why we want you to exercise regularly is because when you exercise regularly, you actually get a training effect. We all know that. We all know when we start our run program, everyone says to Gary, I can't run 5 kilometres in 2 weeks, and voila, a few weeks later everyone's going, oh, actually I've just run 6. Okay, but that's because you're doing the training regularly and you're getting what's called a training effect. Your body's adapting. And what happens is adaptations happen in the brain, in your circulatory system, in your respiratory system, your metabolism, your muscles, your bones. Basically, you're optimizing your health and your function, okay? But when you stop exercising, what happens to your body then? Your body adapts to that, doesn't it? So you stop and your body adapts to doing nothing. And so then what happens is you've done that work and you lose all those benefits that you worked so hard for. So, when you suddenly become sedentary, what happens is the benefits start reversing immediately. Okay, so that's why it's really important not to set those goals too high and feel like you can't make those targets. You want to feel like, you know what, that's easy, I'm going to nail that this week and every other week for the challenge and beyond. Okay, so that's what matters when it comes to training, number 1. But number 2, recovery. I've actually, instead of leaving this, in the past I've left recovery strategies more towards the end, okay? But I'm bringing them right up the start this time because I happened to find out that someone had made up a little motto for themselves during this challenge, and it was called Build Not Break. And I really loved it because if you don't build recovery into your training program, that's when you break, okay? So, and the problem isn't so much the exercise, or it's not even so much the intensity. The problem is that you haven't balanced the stress of the exercise with recovery, okay? So putting in that consistent effort over the long haul is much more sustainable than those cycles of going hard and then burning, yeah? Crashing and burning. And just to start to get you to think about when you're writing down your goals, like what's the purpose of the exercise for you, okay? So the purpose is you might want to feel better, you might want to look better, you might want to perform better, but you don't want it to crush you. You don't want to be getting to the point where that's the only thing that you can focus on because you're feeling like I have to get that exercise in, and then you crash and burn. Okay, so always keep in mind what's the outcome that you want from this exercise, okay? Because at the end of the day, that movement, all movement matters, and you just want it to help you function freely, okay? You don't want to get injured and be incapacitated, okay? So build not break, I thought, was a really great motto that was, a challenge motto for that particular person. So we really want you to be putting recovery into your exercise goals. And so for some people, recovery might actually fall into their target goal, the step above, because it's something that they haven't thought about before. So it's going to be something that's going to put you out of your comfort zone a little bit, okay? So an effective physical activity routine, okay, incorporates 4 things. First one is strength and resistance training, okay? And we want you to be doing at least 2 to 3 hours of that if you can, 2 to 3 classes, okay? Intervals or high intensity interval training. We don't want you to be doing a lot of that, but we want you to be doing some of that. But the good news is about that is that Gary has those 2 things covered for you. So you'll notice that whether you're going, doesn't matter what circuit you go to, there will always be strength and there will always be a little bit of HIIT in there, or a little bit of interval in there. Bar the Tuesday morning program, which is interval running, obviously. But as Gary pointed out, if you're running up a hill, guess what? You're improving your leg strength, So if you're going to classes, those first couple of things will be incorporated in those classes and you'll be covering those. But what you guys need to think about in your goal setting is some active recovery. So start thinking about, okay, if I've done 3 hours of strength and interval work this week, I want you to start thinking about how can I incorporate another 2 or 3 hours of what we call active recovery, okay? How can I incorporate just as much walking or some swimming or a bike ride or something that is not as intense, but it's still keeping you moving, because all of that movement matters, okay? So, and the other thing I want you to do is think about things that are fun. Like things that you really enjoy things that you really enjoy working out, things that you really enjoy doing, because at the end of the day, if it's not fun, you are not going to keep on doing it, okay? If you feel like, what we're getting you to do is a chore and you have to drag yourself out of bed to go and do it, what's the likelihood that after these 7 weeks you're going to keep on doing it? There's not any. There's none. Okay, so your challenge is to build in some active recovery and some fun into your week, okay? And just to start thinking about the concept that actually all movement matters. So, some ideas: go for a walk, okay? Take a hike. I'm going to take a hike up on our whiteboard soon. We're going to do a hike to figure 8 pools. Well, that's the 3rd time I forgot. To figure 8 pools. But go for a